hello there, humans, hippies, earthlings, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and whoever you're lucky enough to be doing it to on Bushcraft on Blitz. And this is the SU-100YYY Delilah. Tom Jones is not happy with me and will probably be visiting me very soon with his brand new face. This is a massive tank. It is alternately called the box tank because it's a big box. It's like the biggest thing in its tier. It's absolutely ginormous. But I really enjoyed this tank. This is a TD that people have been screaming for a review on for such a long time. And it's one of the original TDs that I bought an awful long time ago. And it's a unique vehicle too. It's got a gun, which I will go to great lengths to explain why it's unique and why it's such a cool gun and why the tank does really well because of it. Before I do, this is a Patreon-sponsored post. Patrons keep the channel going. There's a video out here pretty much 5 days a week, plus some streams and all other kinds of things. Lots of content, and that's directly because of some of the awesome humans who get it all done. Not the least of which is also the subscribers, you guys who make the comments, like the videos, and share the joy. So thanks very much, and if you consider being a patron and sponsoring the channel, hot diggity dog. This thing has a very unique gun. It has, it's just great. Even, it's a 130mm naval gun. It's like they ripped it right off the front of some Russian battleship. The B-13S2. It's got an AP round on it that does 206mm of pen and does 460 damage. And then you have a premium AP round that drops in pen but does more damage, which makes it pretty unique in the current meta where everyone does less damage when they go to AP, or premium. And then you have your high explosive, which is all or nothing, 68mm of pen, but 600 huge, big damages. Now, the sound went on my little MacBook Pro, so you're gonna have to listen to some music while we do this next little clip here. Now, the cool thing about this gun is that it allows you to peekaboo. Peekabooming is an age-old art where you basically ruin the enemy's fantastic damage per minute numbers by only letting them shoot you when your gun is fully loaded and ready to unleash Hell Maximus. And you can see there are two tanks there, both of whom are one-shots for me. And I am waiting. Indeed, I'm very happy to take shots from someone else so that I get a chance to peekaboom out and fire on those guys. And that's the whole and the end of it. I'm wiggling and jiggling and making them take shots at my tracks and such. But the key here is that when you have a tank that does 600 alpha on a HE round versus a tank that does 90 alpha on an AP round, and you can only fire one shot each, the guy doing the 600 alpha does a whole lot, does a lot better than the poor bugger who's in the light tank or the medium tank. And that's why this tank is such a terror at tier 6, because it is literally the highest damage TD in the game at tier 6. Now, of course, we live in a world that's populated by the Boot of Stalin, otherwise known as the KV-2, which is, for all intents and purposes, a TD at this tier. But where the KV-2 and its massive 150mm gun and the SU-100Y and its 130mm gun differ is that the SU-100Y actually has a gun you can aim with and hit targets without wanting to bite through your iPad, which the KV-2 on occasion does. It makes you very upset, and the Hand of Stalin, when it doesn't work, is a terrible hand to be guided by. The dispersion on the SU-100Y is 0.344, and the aim time is 2.63. Now, those aim time numbers are a little skewed because I'm using the numbers from Blitz stars, and they don't always take into account things like movement on traverse and all that kind of stuff. But I'm not going to get into that. Just in terms of relative aim times, you've got a full second less on the SU-100Y minimum. It's not by any stretch of the imagination an exceptionally accurate gun, but it's accurate enough that you don't miss those big nasty shots up close when things are looking a little bit grim. And it is brilliant for kill securing. What you find is that anyone under 400 hit points you can kill secure to make sure that, you know, everyone else is safe. I mean, I'm kill securing like a boss there. It's got a very poor armor profile because not only is it not particularly well armored, it's massive. So you are very, very weak from the sides. This is what I'm talking about with the gun. KV2, you'd just never get this off. It'd never happen. Look how small the reticle gets and how quickly it gets. And that's great. And 68mm of HE pen at tier 6 and some of the tier 5 tanks you'll see as well is enough to do the job. It will quite often pan the sides of a lot of very, very nasty tanks. I'm going to show you a couple of games and I'm going to show you a couple of instances, some of the things I do in them. But you really have to master that Pika-Boom game style that I talked about earlier. It's funny that I never actually have done a video on this tank before because it is a tank that I bought a long time ago. Like when I kicked off the Blitz Affliction, I was an SU-100Y fan. I really was. It was a tank that I did really well in, and I enjoyed driving on maps like Desert Sands, the old Desert Sands where you would camp on very, very high spots and just derp away happily. And there was no KV2s back then, by the way. You were the big dog on campus. And you still are, for all intents and purposes. You really are. Being able to hit someone like that, watch, I'll go to HE there. There is a weak point there right around the hatch there that is on the edge where it's not spaced armor. And you can quite often just smash those poor old French tanks. French tanks are great fun for this tank. Does really, really well. SU-100Y likes French tanks. 68mm of HE pen is plenty of HE pen. And if they're under 500 damage and you're going to your premium ammunition, that's awesome. And considering that a lot of tanks in this tier have, like, a lot of the mediums in this tier have, 800 hit points. And between 800 and 1,000 HP, that's nothing. You're going to find a lot of tanks that are one-shots for you, and that's really, really good for your team. So you can move in, take a 75mm shot for 160, and dish back one that's an average alpha roll of 500, and that's a brilliant return on your investment. You're not going to get better value for money than that. Of course, with great power comes great responsibility and a great weakness. If you let mediums get to the side or behind you, you are absolutely toast. You are not an effective tank with traverse. I mean, you're quicker than you'd think for a tank that's this big, and it is absolutely ginormous. Don't mistake that for 1 second. It is huge. Look, that's 557, 384, done. It's such a good finisher. It really is. If you're looking at it in terms of a sporting analogy, this is the pitcher you bring in to finish the game in baseball. This is the guy you bring on to take the last shot in the NBA. This is just a perfect tank, and it is really capable of dishing it out to heavy tanks with 180mm of pen. And I run the calibrated shells on it because those numbers are like with calibrated shells, and they're important to note that you've got to make sure the shell goes in, and when it doesn't go in and it bounces for want of another 8mm of pen, you're really letting yourself down. Like there's great opportunities to do really big things. I mean, 628 into a Nashorn makes him a one shot for our SP1C, all over. Great tank. So let's have a quick look at the traverse numbers. Even with all the bells and whistles, 39.2 degrees of traverse. So you're not going to be killing it traverse wise. You will, however, be fast enough to move around and get to targets. And that's great. Because, like, let's be honest, it's all about getting that gun on the target, and that's the hard thing to do. Your speed limit is 35 kilometers an hour. That's not bad, especially not for a tank that's this enormous. Look, what I was saying about the finishing power of this tank is absolutely spot on. I was kill securing like a boss in this thing. I think I averaged a couple of kills every game. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. You're always the bloke with the best chance in the team of putting the notch on the belt. Now, not to put the cart before the horse here, I do want to build a bit of suspense. It was very suspenseful. This is a nail biter. It's a cliffhanger, comes right down to the wire, so watch on, keep your eyes glued to the telly, and I'll tell you all about it. Now, this is a particularly standard foible, this map. Everyone goes out to A, we cap A, they all go to C, and then we set up our camp lines on either side of the railway track until some clown in your team decides that he can take on 7 reds on his own and goes across, and then another couple go across, and the next thing you know, half the team's on the western flank, half the team is on the eastern flank, and things are very, very grim in the state of Denmark. Good on you, Hamlet. The box tank doesn't mind, though. The box tank is a absolute monster. And you're going to see how I deal with this little leopard here. We load up the HE. We're looking for a big shot, but we see there's no guaranteed pens for a lot because he's angled up there. And we switch to the premium AP there. Now, the difference between the two, alpha-wise, average roll of 530 for the premium AP, and average roll of 600 for the HE, but we actually roll the perfect HE round there. So we get the same alpha as you'd normally get because we high roll on our premium ammo. Now, if you're going to be playing this tank, you're going to have to get good at swapping ammunition types. The only way to maximize your return on this little beastie is to get good at changing ammo types, and you're going to have to display a little bit of patience. You're only running about 3.7 rounds per minute. So that means if you've got a tank like the Leopard and they're right in front of you, you wait till you get that clear shot. You do not chuck out that early, well, I might hit him, I might not. Otherwise, you end up in a situation where he could possibly push forward on you, get around you, and then it is all over bar the shouting because he will easily circle of death you. Bit of an unfortunate thing here. We go for the kill shot in the Yag. We missed the kill shot. We let that BDR go. Would have been an easy one shot. They were both a kill shot. So it's a bit of a waste on my part. I should have just stuck with my initial target. We would have done him. So we have to wait a little bit. We take an extra round there while we're mucking about and do actually get the kill. So it's 1 on 3 now. It's a supremacy mode. The team did at least cap C, which was excellent. But they have 3 tanks left, and they are all pushing hard for my little self. I've loaded up the HE. I've got a plan here. It is to one-shot that toaster. We're going to one-shot him. Unfortunately, we don't one-shot him. We roll a sub-average alpha roll with HE after rolling a really high alpha roll. But we go hard and ram-kill the toaster, and then turn around and put a big one into the KV-1 and bounce his last shot. We die on the buzzer, but that's a win versus 3 tanks, and that's why I adore the SU-100 YYY Delilah. Just go and call it Delilah. Go on, do it. I'm Bushcon Blitz. You're awesome. I'm very lucky to have you all. I hope you stick around. I hope you keep watching the channel. Spread the word. Let the humans know that there is joy to be found on the YouTube arena. Until next time, stay safe out there on the battlefield. Look after your family. Look after your dog. And bye for now.